my name is Muon and welcome to my tutorial on the Adorabilis Octopus Plushie. This is the shortened version of my video with a lot of the footage cut out for people who just want the instructions, but as per usual, I do have a full in real time version that I will be releasing on my channel as well. Without further ado, let's get right into it. For our very first step, we are going to be doing a magic ring. As per usual, I prefer to do the standard magic ring, which you can adjust, but if you would like to, you can do a modified version where you chain 3 or maybe even 2 and do a slip stitch to join the chain into a circle. Now we're going to single crochet 6 times into the center of the ring. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. For step 3, just pull the tail end to tighten the circle. Now we are going to start increasing. So we're going to do 2 single crochets into every stitch so that we reach a total of 12 stitches in this round. In round 2, we are going to single crochet 1, and then in our second stitch, do 2 single crochets so that we can increase to 3. We're going to do this 6 times so that we have a total of 18 stitches in this round. For step 6, we are going to single crochet 2 individual stitches, and then in the third stitch, we are going to put 2 single crochets together and do this 6 times so that we have a total of 24 stitches. For step 7, we are going to do 3 individual single crochets, and then in the fourth stitch, we are going to put 2 single crochets together. We're going to do this 6 times so that we have a total of 30 stitches in the round. For step 8, also known as the next 7 rows, we are going to be putting 1 single crochet into every stitch, or we're going to be single crocheting 30 stitches for 7 rounds. Usually when we are doing many rounds of the same number of stitches, it can be really easy to sort of lose track of where you are. Maybe you'll do 1 extra row or 2 fewer rows. So what I like to do is have a piece of scrap paper or a small notepad where I can just do tally marks so that I don't lose track of where I am. For step 9, we want to make sure that we are working in the front loops only, with the front loops being the ones that are closest to you and the back loops being the ones that are away from you. In the first front loop only, we are going to put 5 double crochets. This is also known as a scallop stitch. To finish off the scallop, we are going to skip the first stitch and then slip stitch into the front loop only of the second stitch from our scallop. We are going to repeat this unit of instruction 9 more times so that we have a total of 10 scallop groups going all the way around the circumference of the octopus. The first step to doing this is working in the back loops only from the previous round. As you know, at the top of a standard single crochet, there are 2 lines that make a sort of V shape. We worked the front loop of the V, and now we are going to be working the back loop of the V. So in the back loops only, we are going to make 3 individual single crochets, and then we are going to decrease starting at the 4th stitch and into the 5th stitch. So the 4th and 5th stitches are going to be joined together. And we are going to do this 6 times so that we have a total of 24 stitches by the end of this round. To continue our decreasing, we are going to do 1 single crochet, and then we are going to decrease starting from our 2nd stitch into our 3rd stitch. We're going to do this 8 times, and then we're going to end up with a total of 16 stitches in this round. Before we finish closing off our piece, we are going to want to add stuffing. What I like to do to conserve some polyfill, because it can get quite expensive, is to make a sort of polyfill nest. Then I'm going to fill the nest with scraps of yarn that I've cut into little pieces and top all of that off with a little more polyfill. What you want to do is make sure that your yarn scraps are not going to be visible from the outside of your piece. Hence why you use a sort of neutral color polyfill to cover it or wrap it up. Just as a general reminder or piece of advice, it is typically better to overstuff than to understuff, because polyfill and other stuffing materials tend to compress over time. So if you don't really give enough stuffing as it is, you're gonna end up with kind of a lumpy, sad, deflated looking project after a while. We are now going to pick our hooks back up and do 2 individual single crochets and then decrease starting from the 3rd stitch into the 4th stitch. We're going to do this 4 times so that we have a total of 12 single crochets or stitches in the round. Finally, we are going to decrease every single stitch. So we're going to decrease starting with the 1st stitch and then into or joining into the 2nd stitch, and we're going to do this a total of 7 times. This way we can close our project without having too much of an overlap at the end. What I mean by this is if we decrease by 6 single crochets to a total of 6 single crochets left in the round, and then we continue to decrease every 1, 2, every 1, 2, then what we end up with is sort of a wonky overlapping bit that juts out. Doing one more decrease, or the 7th decrease according to the instructions, is helpful in avoiding any sort of lumps or overlaps, because there's only a small jut that we can basically pull over the rest of the hole to close it off. In step 14, we just use a scissor or some sort of cutty thing to liberate our project from the yarn ball. To finish off the body, we are just going to use our tapestry needle and weave in our ends. Moving on to the octopus ears, we are going to start with a slip knot. Then we are going to make a chain of 8 stitches. Because it's our turning chain, we're going to skip the very first chain from our hook, and we're going to make 6 single crochets and 1 slip stitch. Now just use your snippety snip to liberate this ear from the yarn. And we're going to do that all over again, starting with the slip knot. Just like before, we are going to make a chain 8. We're going to skip the very first chain from the hook because that's our turning chain, and then we're going to do 6 single crochets and finish that off with 1 slip stitch. Snip, snip, snip. For step 24, what you want to do is weave in the shorter of your 2 ends. If they happen to be exactly the same length, pick whichever one you think is most likely to become a tyrannical dictator and weave that one in. For step 25, we are going to fold the earpiece lengthwise and then use our extra piece of yarn to sew along the seam. And we're gonna do all of that one more time, starting with weaving in one of our ends. Just like before, we are going to fold together lengthwise and then sew. For step 28, you're just going to pin the ears to the body in whatever location or position that is most pleasing to you. Using your tapestry needle and that extra end, you're going to attach the ears to the body. For the eyes, we're just going to cut 2 little circles out of black felt. To make the cheek blush, we are going to cut 2 ovals out of pink felt. Using your craft glue, you can attach the eyes and cheeks into place. If you don't like glue, then you can also sew them on using a needle and thread. If you like how your octopus looks already, then you can just leave it. In fact, I kind of like the plain black eyes with this mint color, but the reason that I used a white dot in the eyes of the maroon colored octopus is because it's a bit hard to see the eyes themselves when the body color of the octopus is so dark. So the white is just there for some contrast. My method of making the eye reflection is to take my tapestry needle and then sort of dipping it into a bit of white acrylic paint, and then I just dab a dot onto the eyes. Just make sure that once you're done, you wipe the paint off of the needle so that it doesn't get stuck and dried there. Now you're all done and set up with the knowledge necessary to build your own octopus army. I'm so proud of all the work that you did today, and I hope that you had fun making these Adorabilis octopi with me. I've been Muon, and I will be wishing you all of the happiness in the world. I hope you have a nice day.